Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to build this show-stopping mossy castle. This stunning build features towering spires, lots of turrets and a keep, and plenty of mossy charm. Plus it uses some of the new 1.21 blocks like the tuff, although this build can just as easily be created in a beautiful way in any version of the game. This is part 1 of 2 for this tutorial, as this castle is a large build, and the material list will include all of the materials you'll need to create the whole castle, so when you get to the end of this video you'll still have lots of supplies on hand. Here are the materials that you're going to need for this mossy build. Keep in mind that it's always a good idea to have a few extra of each supply on hand, and if you can't get any of these supplies, leave a comment and I'll offer some substitutions. Here is the overall outline for our mossy castle. It's quite a complex shape as you can expect for a castle, but if you follow along with the grid pattern created, you can create an outline like this one to help you. I've broken this outline into 2 sections. You can see the lighter blocks there outline where we've got main structural elements like the towers and the keep, and then in the darker color blocks we've got additional things like the walls. Let's have a look at this outline in a bit more detail. This here is the front of the build, and you can see we've got a gap in the wall for our gate. This gap should be 5 blocks across, and you can see that there is 2 blocks worth of walls on either side. On either side of that we have our first 2 turrets, and these are circles with a diameter of 5 blocks across in the center. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks here, and this one is the same on this side. We've then got some walls going back on either side. As we come back towards this left-hand corner, we've got a larger circle. It looks just like this, and this has an interior diameter of 7 blocks across. On the right-hand side, we're going to be counting 6 blocks back from this tower before we create the outline for our keep. And we can keep in mind that this keep has an outline of 11 by 8 blocks. Taking one more look at this outline from above now, you can see that I've used concrete and concrete powder to create my outline, but you can use whatever countable block you like. The first section of the castle we'll be working on is this front left turret here. So having a look at the outline, we've got a group of 3, then 1, 3, then 1, 3, then 1 going on in a circle. For these walls, we're going to be creating a texture that looks like this, and you can see we're using various materials. We've got stone brick, cracked stone brick, tuff and tuff bricks, and then some andesite. And we'll be creating a random distribution of those as we create the walls. There's 2 ways you can create walls like this. One is to texturize as you go, like this, placing in blocks here and there until you get a look you're happy with, and then you can build up the shape while adding in the different blocks. This method works great if you're building in survival or have limited resources, because that way you're only using exactly what you need. So you can expand the wall and create the shape like this as you go. Let's finish filling in this wall to have a look at how that will look. Let's add a bit more tuff up here, and maybe a cracked stone brick. And it's always a good idea to take a step back and check you like the distribution no matter what method you use. The other way for creating texture is to build up your wall first out of one material, and this works great if you have ample supplies or are in creative, and then take a step back and add in the texturized blocks afterwards like this. This allows you to easily see the shape that you'll be adding texture to before you go ahead and add that in. And just like with the other method, once you've got your blocks placed in like this, you want to take a step back and make any adjustments to the texture. There we go. So now that we know how we're going to be texturizing our walls, let's get building. We're going to start by building up 2 high all the way around this circle. I'm going to go with the build and texturize option. So right now I'm just going to build out of 1 supply. Just like this. Then on these flat faces, I'm going to add 1 extra block going up. And let's go in and texturize this a little bit. It's up to you how much of each of these blocks you use. If you've got lots of tuff on hand, you might end up using more than me. Let's go in with some tough bricks now. And finally, a few pieces of andesite here and there. There we go. Next, I'm going to grab some stone brick walls and we'll be building up 5 high in each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on these 2 sides here that are facing out from the build, in the center, I'm going to add in 3 walls going up. And I'm going to grab some more of my wall materials and I'm going to build right up to the top and over the top of these window-like sections. Just on those 2 walls like this. Now around on these 2 walls, I'm going to add 2 more layers of blocks going up. And in the center of each wall, I'm going to place in some temporary blocks. This is where we're having some doorways, and let's build up the walls on either side of this to match that height. I'm going to come back and add in some more texture in a minute, but I'm going to be placing 2 more blocks going all the way around this circle over the top of the corners as well. Here we go. Now I can continue adding in that texture. If you would like to access world downloads for this and all my other builds, as well as access to a multi-world server where you can build alongside me, check out my Patreon. I would really love your support and I'd love to have you join my community. There we go, I'm all texturized. Let's come inside the build now, and I'm going to add in my floor. For my floor in this section, I'm going to use a pattern with some polished andesite like this in a checkerboard. And then I'm using some chiseled tough blocks, but you could absolutely get creative and have some fun coming up with some flooring designs in here. While I'm inside the build now, I'm going to place in some stone brick stairs, and these are coming out from each of the corners where we have these windows. And I'll add these at the top as well. And then I'm going to fill this in with some yellow stained glass, or you could switch this out for whatever glass color you like to complement your build. We can come back outside the build now, and here's how it looks. Let's add some decorations to this exterior now. I'm going to start by placing a chiseled stone brick in the center underneath these wall panels. Then I'm going to use some temporary blocks building up so I can place in an upside down stone brick stair and then a right way up stair. And I can remove those. Let's do this on this side as well. Next up, we're going in with some walls. So we're going to place one in front of this chiseled stone brick and then on these corners as well. Just like that. So you can see I haven't placed one in on this side or around on this side. Next, let's add some decorations to the top. In each corner, I'm going to take some stairs, and I'm using stone brick here, but you can add in some of these materials from the walls like the tuff and some andesite. And I'm placing 2 stairs coming out like this. Then I'm going to come on top and face these stairs towards each other. So you can see these face out and these face in. And then I'm going to place a stone brick in the corner of that with a wall on top. So let's repeat this on the other corners. Let's check out, in. block and wall. Out, out, in, block and wall, and last one. Perfect. Now on the flat sides, I'm going to grab a chiseled stone brick and place one in the center. And below that, I'm going to add in a stair. Once again, you can add in some texture as you go here. Then on either side of the chiseled stone brick, we want to add in a wall. And on these sides where we have the panels with the walls, not the ones with the doors, we're going to add an extra wall coming down from these stairs. Now on top, we're going to grab some blocks and place one on top of each of these walls. And in between, we're going to add in a slab. And we'll finish off with walls on top of each of these blocks. Here's how it's looking. I'm going to go in with some texturized blocks now, just replacing a few of these with some tuff and some andesite, including replacing some of the stairs with some tuff stairs and some andesite stairs, as well as the walls. You can see how when I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I keep them facing the correct direction and using the right material, or rather the right block, in its place. Okay, I think that looks pretty good now. We're going to come back inside of our tower now to work on the floors in this space. I'm going to start by building up 2 high in these 3 sides. So that is, when looking from the front, the left and the right, leaving out the back with some temporary blocks. And then I'm going to grab some barrels and I'm building these up to the height of the glass. I like to make sure all of my barrels are facing the same direction. On this side, I'm just going to go up to the height of where our door will be. So that's going to leave 2 blocks at the top. This is going to be the layer we have our floor on. So I'm going to fill in all of this with some spruce slabs. But I'm going to leave out a gap where we have this door and no barrels, because we've got to add in some ladders here. So let's place a trapdoor at this layer. It should flip down, and then we're going to add in some ladders going up, just to the top of that trapdoor. And while I'm down here, I can remove any of these temporary blocks and place in some lighting. Let's come up now and onto this floor, and I can flip that trapdoor again. Around on this side, I'm going to place in an extra barrel, and then I'm going to add in some ladders going up. And we need to fill in this layer up here with some polished andesite, and I'm going to leave a gap over the top of this ladder. And in this place, I can add in a trapdoor. I'm just going to quickly pop down this trapdoor so I can add in a torch, and while I'm here I can remove these placeholder blocks where we have our doorways. Let's come back up onto the roof of this turret now and add in a flag. In the very center, which will be beside this trapdoor, I'm going to build up 2 high with some oak logs and surround all 4 sides on the lower layer with some more trapdoors. There we go. Next, using some more of our spruce materials, I'm going to build up 6 high in the center with my fences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, we need to make a flag. You want to make sure that your flags are all flying in the same direction. So if you have any other flags on buildings nearby, make sure they're all pointing the same way. For my Mossy castle, I'm using white and green wool, and I want to start my flag 3 blocks down, and this first layer is going to go across 7 blocks, and you just want to create a natural flowing shape. Each flag is going to be a little bit different. And then for the next layer out of my white blocks, I'm just going to add in 5. Now that we've got our first tower in, let's move across to the front right-hand side and work on this tower. We're going to start off in a similar way, building up around the circle, this time 3 blocks high. So these are the same shape walls as we have on our first turret. And so we've got walls which are 3 blocks connected by diagonals of 1. And just as before, I'm going to use the mixture of the stone brick, the cracked stone brick, the andesite, and the tough bricks to create a bit of texture. And keep in mind when you're adding in this texture, and this goes throughout the rest of the castle as well, that the more of these kind of gravelly looking blocks or these worn away looking blocks you have, the older your castle is going to look. If you built the whole thing out of just plain stone brick, it's going to look like a new castle. Let's see, we'll add a little bit of tuff in here, maybe up there, and around on this side, let's add in a couple pieces. There we go. So here's how the base is going to look. For the walls going up from here, we're going to switch to some sandstone materials, and we're going to be texturizing that as well. So for the main walls, we're using these smooth sandstone blocks, and then we're adding in texture with sand and regular sandstone, like this. Let's start off by adding just 1 layer going up around on this circle. Just like that. Next, I'm going to take some oak logs, and in the 4 corners, I'll build up 7 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the back and left side wall, where we are connecting up to some walls here, I'm going to add in some dark oak stairs. We're just going to be placing these just on top of the wall like this, facing outwards, because this is going to connect up to our doorway. Before we do the next step, I'm just going to come down and add in a checkerboard floor like we have in the other turret. In all of the basement sort of sections of this build, I'm going to be using this same floor pattern. There we go, we've got our chiseled tuff blocks and our polished andesite, and I'm going to place in a torch. Next, I'm going to fill in the floor at the layer of this first layer of sandstone. I'm going to be using some of these stripped dark oak logs for this, and I just want to leave a gap in this corner for where we're going to have a glow vine ladder hanging down. There we go. Next up, I'm going to grab some temporary blocks and place them on top of where we're going to be having our doors, so that's on top of those stairs, and I'm going to add an additional block in the center of these other 2 walls. On top of these additional blocks, I'm going to add in 3 yellow stained glass panes or whatever color glass you're using for your build. Now that we've got everything marked in, I'm going to use my 3 sandstone type materials to fill in the walls all the way up to the height of these oak posts. If you're creating this build, be sure to join my Discord server and share some pictures. I would love to see how the Mossy Castle comes together in your world. Next, we're going to add a platform on top of here. I'm going to add in a torch to make sure I don't get mobs spawning, and then I'm going to take some dark oak planks and go all the way around this outline. I'm going to grab some more of these stripped dark oak logs now and make sure that you leave a gap where we have that gap below, and I'm just going to fill in this floor. Check that that gap lines up, and it does. Now we need to create the platform going out from here. So we're going to use some stairs, and on the flat sides, I'm going to wrap them around like this. Then in the corners, we'll add in 2 stairs and a slab. And we're going to finish this platform off with some trapdoors. You want to make sure you're placing these onto the level of the slabs and the stairs, so that way you can place a block on top. Here's how this circle should look from above. On to the next story now. I'm going to mark in a 2-block gap at the front of the tower for a doorway. And then I'm going to add 1 layer of my sandstone materials going around in a circle right on top of these stripped dark oak logs. You can see it's kind of a 5x5 square with the corners chopped off. Then on the other 3 sides where we don't have the door, I'm going to place in a window which is 3 blocks tall and 1 block wide in the center. Now that that's in, let's fill in the walls up to the height of these windows. I'm going right over the top of the doorway. I'm going to add 2 more blocks going on top of this entire circle. And if you haven't already, make sure you go in and texturize. Next up, I'm going to take some barrels and I'm going to place one on top of all of the walls. Let's take a step back, and here's how the tower should be looking so far. We've got the basic shape of this turret complete now, and we need to add in all the details. Starting down here at the foundation, I'm going to be using just stone brick to create these designs originally, and then I'm going to go through and add in some more details by swapping out for some of these textured blocks like we have down here in the base. So I'm starting off by placing groups of 2 stairs on the walls below these windows. Then I'm going to place in a chiseled stone brick underneath that, and then 2 stone brick walls. Just like this. Next, I'm going to grab some more stairs, and in the corners, we're going to be placing these in like this. And I'm doing this on all of the sides. Next, I'm going to take some slabs, and on these 2 sides with the windows, I'm going to add them in here and here. You can see I'm placing these onto the stone layer, not the sandstone layer. And once texturized, it might look something like this. Let's check it out from all the angles. Alright, on to the next step. For this, we're going to start with some mossy cobblestone walls, and I'm placing them at the top and the bottom of each of these oak posts. Then I'm simply going to grab some dark oak fences and connect all the way up. While we've got this dark oak, let's add some decorations to our windows. I'm going to start with 3 dark oak slabs across the base. Then I'm going to have some oak trapdoors going up to create a window shutter look like this. Then I'm going to use some dark oak stairs to create an archway coming up and over with a note block in the center. I'm also going to place a dark oak sign just left blank on the front like this, and let's place in a pot. There we go, and we're going to do a similar decoration above this doorway, as well as the doorway on the other side. So we're going to be placing these stairs diagonally up like this, And then we're going to create an archway again using a note block in the center with a sign in front. Next, I'm going to take some dark oak fences and I want to place one underneath each of these two curving stairs on the flat faces. Moving up a layer, we're going to add on the railing to this balcony edge, starting with some oak logs. I'm going to place one in the center of each of these three long sides and on these diagonal corners. So the ones in the center are going on the trapdoors and the ones in the corners are going on to these slabs here. Next, we're going to grab some fences and place one on either side of the corner oak logs. And then we're going to grab a gate and place those beside that. Finally, we'll finish off the railing with some extra fences. As well as some spruce slabs. For a decorative touch, I'm just going to add in a dark oak button onto the faces of these logs here. Let's take a step back. Coming up to the next story now, let's add in some window decorations up here. We're going to be creating archways like on our other windows, but for these archways, we're going to add in stairs on either side, curve up, and then use a stair in the center as well. Below these stairs, I'm going to place in some dark oak trapdoors, leave a gap, and then place in two more. And in between there, I'm going to add in a sign and some buttons. So the whole thing will look like this. We don't want to have too bulky a decoration here at the base of the windows because otherwise we wouldn't be able to walk around on this lovely balcony. And onto the last window. Alright, onto the door next. So over here we're going to create a small archway with a stair in the center and a stair off to either side. And then I'm going to place in a dark oak trapdoor coming down like this. Next up, we're going to add in a little window. So in the center of this wall, you should have a 3x3 looking square here. I'm going to break one of the wall blocks and replace it with a yellow stained glass pane. I'm going to surround this with some dark oak trapdoors on the top and the bottom, place in a dark oak fence, and then I can add trapdoors to either side. So it'll look like this. Next, we need to add some decorations to the corners. So on this top sandstone block, I'll add in a mossy cobblestone wall with a dark oak fence below. Then we're going to take some oak logs and place these on top. And take some oak trapdoors to place in front of the oak log. We're up to adding on the spire to this roof. So I'm going to quickly add in a torch to just light up in here and then fill in the floor using some dark oak slabs, making sure you leave a gap in that same corner so we can add in our way to get up in just a bit. Then we're going to take some dark oak stairs and place one upside down in the center onto these barrels. And I'm going to place in a dark oak trapdoor beside that. Alright, now we're ready to add on the roof and we're using moss blocks for this. I'm going to start by creating a little upside down T shape on top of these dark oak sections we've just added. And I'm also going to add in a block into each corner. Next, I'll use a temporary block to build myself up a layer like this, and I'll curve over the top of each of these sections. and I can remove those blocks. I'll also add in one more block coming up in the center of each of these sides. Here's how it's looking so far. Coming up a bit taller now, let's use another temporary block and we're going to curve over the top once again. And this time we're going to add 2 blocks going up on each of the center sides, leaving out the corner. And finally, to finish off this spire, we needed to add 3 more moss blocks to the very center top. So here's how the shape should look. Now for some details. Let's grab some dark oak slabs and I'm going to place one in the center of each side and then above the oak trapdoors here. Next, I'm going to grab some dark oak trapdoors and I'm placing one onto the trapdoor like this and then one beside the slab. You'll need to hold Shift or Crouch to click onto this trapdoor, and if you're having trouble doing this, you can always place in the trapdoor that's going onto this moss block and then use a temporary block to come down and click onto that instead. I'm also going to place in these double depth trapdoors onto these slabs here. So one's going onto these slabs and one's going onto the oak trapdoors below. You'll find that one of these flips up and the other flips down. So we've created an intricate looking edge like this. Now let's add in a flag. So I'm going to grab some dark oak fences and add 4 going up. Then I'll start with some dark green for the base of my flag, and let's just create a natural curving shape. I've come 7 blocks along for this green section, and then I'll just go 4 blocks along for the white. And here's how the castle is looking now. We're about to connect up these 2 turrets with our front gate, but before we do that, let's add in a couple of lanterns. I'm going to hang these down at various chain lengths off of these center slabs above the windows and doors. Let's go 3 chain lengths down for this one, I think. There we go. Alright, on to creating this wall here. Here is the third and final texture type we'll be using throughout this castle, and here are all 3 together. You can see the first one we created is what we've been using for the bases of our towers. Then we've got our sandstone texture, and then finally we've got this texture here, which is our most aged looking one, and we'll be using this for all of the connecting walls throughout the castle. To create this texture, I've used lots of mossy cobblestone, regular cobblestone, we've got some cracked stone brick, tuff and some andesite, just creating a random texture like this. Let's come back over to the gate and use these supplies to create the wall. I'm going to start by building up 5 high, 2 blocks out on the center of either side of these towers. And I'm going to add in my texture after I've created the shape. Then I'm going to connect up across the top. You should see that this top platform should line up with where our doorways are. Underneath here, I'm going to build in 2 from either side, which will leave us with a 1 block gap. And now I can go in with all of my blocks to add in some texture. I'm using lots and lots of moss here because this is a mossy castle after all. I like the way the new tuff blocks almost have a mossy appearance because they've got some green undertones in them. Let's place in a bit of andesite now and a few of these cracked stone bricks. There we go. Next, I'm going to use some sort of slab to place in the center and then some sort of stair that matches our wall materials on either side to create a nice archway like this. I'm going to come back in and replace some of these with some mossy ones and some tough ones in just a bit. I'm going to place in a row of temporary blocks now on either side of our wall. Next, we need to create a design on top of here. So on every other block, I'm going to place in a block like this. Then I'm going to grab out some stairs and starting facing this way, I'm going to have a stair facing towards this block. then swap directions again, and swap directions for a final time. There we go. Now on top of these blocks where we've got the stair backs facing towards, we're going to be adding in a slab. So that's in the center and then on either end. And then on the other walls, we're going to add in some of these wall blocks. I can go ahead and remove these temporary blocks now. And just like we've been doing, let's texturize. Just like this. Alright, let's go in with some more details now. I'm going to add in a dark oak button on top of each of the blocks. So that'll be 5 across the front and 5 across the back. While I'm around here on the interior of the gate, I'm going to create the actual gate mechanism. Now this is not a functioning gate, but we want it to look like it. So I'm placing in 5 pistons going across like this, making sure that's centered. Then I'm going to add in 2 fences coming down on the end and in the center. And then I'm going to need to place in a temporary block so that I can add in a lightning rod facing upwards, remove that and add in a lightning rod facing down. So here's how it'll look from the inside. And if we come outside, here's how it'll look from here. Now we need to add in the details around the outside of the gate. I'm actually going to come onto the interior side and we're going to add those details in first, and we want to make the look of tree trunks on either side. So starting with some of our oak logs on this left hand side when we're on the interior, I'm going to build all the way up to the top. I'm using the kind of wood where we've got the bark texture on all sides. It just makes it a little bit easier because you don't have to think about covering up that end texture. I've built up 1 block here and 2 blocks to the side, and I'm going to go in with some stairs now. I'm going to rotate one and place it upside down, and I'll fill in this gap with another piece of wood. Let's place in some more stairs next. And I'm going to bring the spruce along this way with a slab and then a trapdoor. I'm using spruce here because it has a similar hue to the oak we're using for the trunk texture. Let's add in a couple of trapdoors, and here's how it's going to look. Let's come over to the other side next. We're going to start the same way, building up to the top. And I'm going to add in 1 block to the side. Let's go in with some stairs now. And then a trapdoor here. I'm going to leave a block's gap and add in 2 more stairs and 2 more logs. There we go. Let's finish with a slab and then a trapdoor. Let's go out to the front side now. And we're going to create another similar design. Let's start on the left hand side again, building all the way up to the top. I'm going to add a log going over to the side here, and then let's go in with some stairs. We've got 2 stairs here and then a slab going off to the side. I'm going to add in a couple of trapdoors next. And then on the block diagonally up, we're going to place in an upside down stair so you can see that there's that gap there. Let's add in another log, and then we're going to go in with a stair facing this way and a stair on top. Coming underneath this edge next, I'm going to place in a stair followed by a trapdoor, and I'm going to place a trapdoor coming forward as well. Now onto the other side. I'm going to start again the same way, building up with my logs, coming forward with 1 this time, and let's go in with some stairs. Next we've got some trapdoors here and here, and 1 above this stair as well. Then I'm going to place a stair coming this way. There should be a 1 block gap above, which we'll fill in with an oak log, and a stair facing the other way. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. You'll have to crouch on top of these stairs to fit it in. Let's go in with a couple more of our slabs next, here and here. And here's what we should have. Now that we've got a platform, I'm going to come up onto the top of this wall, and we can remove these temporary blocks. If you've got sand above your door here, you'll just need to replace it with a non-falling block. Then we can remove those, and I'm going to stand on the inside on top of these stairs and click my spruce door onto the stone that is on the outside, so your door's opening outwards. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to stand inside the doorway and click onto the wall blocks outside so it opens outwards again. And you'll see that it doesn't sit entirely flush with the wall, it sticks out just a bit. Alright, we're on to the next stage of building our castle, which is creating this back left turret. We're going to find the placement of it by counting along diagonally like this. I'm going to count 3, 1, 2, 3 from the center of this first turret. Then I'm going to come forward on a diagonal and count 3 again. 1, 2, 3, forward on a diagonal, 1, 2, 3. And that should bring you to the edge of this circle. We're going to be using the first texture pattern when creating these walls, using a mixture of the stone brick, the cracked stone brick, the andesite, the tuff, and the tuff bricks. Let's get building. We're going to be building up the foundations first by building up 4 high all the way around, leaving out this corner here. You can see that this circle is just 5 wide walls connected by 1 wide diagonal walls. For this last corner, I'm going to leave a 2-block gap at the base and then build up. Next, I'm going to add an extra block onto each corner, and then an extra block in the center 3 of these faces. Now that we've got the shape, I'm going to go through and add in some of these texture blocks. We're trying to achieve a similar look to the texture we've got on that front tower there. I'm all texturized now, so I'm going to take some stairs using the same materials we've got in the walls, and I'm going to place one in each of these gaps. Once again, keeping that texture running through. Let's add in some details now. We're going to start on the 2 outer facing sides, so those are the sides of the turret that are not connected up to walls with the castle. I'm going to place in a chiseled stone brick, followed by a stair placed right way up but facing away. Then I'll have one upside down like this, one going on top, and then I'll use that to curve back the stair to create a shape like this. Next, we're going to place in a wall underneath and on top, followed by a stair. Let's do this on this side as well. Next, we need to go in with some walls. On either side of these 5 wide sections where we've just added a design, I'm going to build at 3 high with my walls. I'm also going to add a wall into each of these corner sections. And you can see that we've got 2 fully blank walls here. But on the outer edge where we've got these 2 diagonal walls, I'm going to add in 3 walls going up, leaving this all clear. And then we've got these 2 walls, those 3 walls going up. Just like we did over on this turret and around on the other side, you can go in and add in some of these texture blocks if you'd like. Alright, you can see how I've done this. I've just placed in a couple of these stairs and walls and replaced them with materials in the walls. Now on to the connecting wall between this tower and the front turret. For this texture, we'll be using this 3rd design here with the cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, tuff, cracked stone brick, and andesite. I'm going to come over to the first group of 3, which is connecting up to this wall, and I'm going to build up the full 5 blocks. You can either texturize as you go or come back later. I'm then going to leave a 1-block gap and build up 5 high for 2 more blocks. Coming forward now, I'm going to build up 5 high, leave a 1-block gap, and then build up 5 high for 2 more blocks. And then finally, I'll build up 5 high, leave a 1-block gap, and build up 5 high again right next to the wall. So it will look like this, 3 sections with a gap in the center. I'm going to add in 2 walls going up, and then build on top with my blocks. You'll have a few recessed panels. Next up, we're going to take some stairs and place one with a block on top above each of the recessed panels. I'll then take some upside down stairs and place them in each of these gaps on either side of the blocks. So it should create a pattern going up and down, just like this. Now we need to create a design along this edge. I'm going to start by coming to the wall of this tower here that we've just created before and add a stair facing like this towards the wall. I'll then add in an upside down stair and a stair coming down. Then I'll place a block beside that. Let's do that again. So we've got stair, upside down stair, right way up stair, then block. And we're going to finish off with another stair and an upside down stair. Coming up on top of these upside down stairs, I'm going to place in a slab. And then on top of these blocks, I'll place in a wall. So there'll be 2 walls and 3 slabs. Last but not least, before we texturize this wall, I'm going to add in 3 more cobblestone walls or a mixture of walls, and these are going below the recessed sections. And I'm going to add a dark oak button underneath these 2 walls here at the top. Let's add in some texture. And there we go. Once again, I'm creating that same texture that we've got around here on the front wall. I'll give you another look at that so you can follow along if you'd like. The great thing about texturizing is you really can't go wrong as long as you create a mixture of supplies and try and group together things just a little bit. I like to create groups of 3 with little groups of 1 here and there. You're going to end up with something looking fairly similar to this. You'll also notice that I was sure to come inside the wall and make sure these blocks here get texturized as well. They're covered up by the design we've created, so you want to make sure they're texturized as well on the inside as they are from the out. Alright, let's go on to creating the interior railing here. For this, I'm going to start by placing some temporary blocks along the top edge of this wall. I'm going to come 4 blocks along here and 2 blocks along here. I'm going to be using spruce trapdoors and placing them like this onto the temporary blocks, and then I can remove those. To fill in this corner, I'm just going to place 1 on top of this block and flip it up, and that's as far as we need to go along. Now that we've got this wall in, I'm going to add in a door for this side. Once again, I'm going to stand on the wall from here and click on the wall we've just built so that it opens outwards, and it's going to sit a little bit out from this turret wall. Let's take a step back and have a look at what we've got, ooh, hello flag, for our castle so far. We've got the entire front of our castle complete now. And as we come around to the left-hand side, we've got this wall in and the foundation of this back turret complete. Let's have a look from above as well. It's really starting to come together now. So now we've completed about half of our Mossy castle. Make sure you watch out for part 2, where I'll be showing you how to complete this castle and how I like to decorate this Mossy masterpiece. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a like and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. I'll see you in another video.